Yeah, I think like everything, like, there's a balance required in everything, right? And I think, as you said, there we are trying to run a business. You're trying to start an agency. There's different, obviously, complexities. We do need capital to fund that business. We won't run a business by giving away software for free,
Right.
on the long term. But it is really important to us that we build deep relationships with our customers. One of our, we have a very, very kind of strong ambition about wanting to be one place to run client work, being the service provider that agencies like yourself come to by default, because one, we know our customers, two, we appreciate our customers, and three, we actually provide, in that knowledge and appreciation, we actually provide our customers with the solutions that help them to run their businesses.
Hey everyone, today I'm super excited for John O'Mara to join us today in this episode. He is COO and board of Teamwork. Teamwork is a project management platform that my agency has been using since 2019, and I tell you, it is very effective, efficient, especially for those agency with a lot of team members and with a lot of tasks that they are working on. So John, he joined Teamwork in January 2019 as Chief Financial Officer. Prior to joining Teamwork, he held a variety of C-level finance and operating roles with both early-stage international and established multinational businesses in the software, biotechnology, professional services, and manufacturing sectors. Previous employers included Dell, Quest, Mentor Graphics, and Icon PLC. In January 2020, John assumed the COO role and joined the board at Teamwork. John is a graduate of University College Cork, a member of the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, and holds an MBA. Like I said, I'm super excited to get to know him even more. I'm very, very curious how Teamwork was able to grow the company and how I can also apply that, to my agency. Welcome, John, to the Master Delegator Podcast. Oh my gosh, I have been waiting for this moment to talk to you and learn more about Teamwork.
Hi, Kristy. Great to chat. I really look forward to our chat today, conversation. We've been talking about it for a while, so it's good to get it on.
Yep. Yeah. So let's get started. Tell me about Teamwork and what is your current role?
So I'm Chief Operating Officer at Teamwork, and Teamwork is an Irish headquartered company. We have 350 people spread about the globe. We have offices in Denver, recently opened in December last year, an office in Barcelona, Belfast, and Amsterdam. And our primary office and headquarters is based in Southern Ireland, in County Cork. And we are predominantly a work management platform that focuses on helping businesses that do client work. So anybody in a customer or client-facing role, Teamwork solves problems specifically for those type of businesses. Primarily, I suppose anybody that's trying to track time against projects that they're doing for clients that needs to build time. That's our reason of being and what we're really great at.
Yeah, and I totally believe in what you guys do because I have been using your platform since I started my agency, and I'm thankful to my previous client. When I was just a virtual assistant and I didn't have an agency before, my previous client, they were using Teamwork, and that's why I know about Teamwork. And when I started my own agency, I thought about using it for my agency, and a lot of our clients are loving Teamwork as well. I think one of the features that I really, really like is when you create a task inside Teamwork, you can log in there, you can check in there, so that your client would be, or you can see how much productive you are during the day. You know how much time you are spending on a specific task, and you can also communicate on using the platform. So I really, really like that. And I can easily integrate that to a different platform as well. So aside from Teamwork, we're also using a platform called Hubstuff. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but we use Hubstuff to make sure that everyone in the team is productive, making sure that we're using our time correctly and appropriately. Because when you work online, you don't really know what everybody does, right? It's not that you don't trust them. It's just that when a client questions why something takes too long to get done, then you can justify, you can reason out, and you have proof that you're really working on something. So I love teamwork, and that's the reason why I reach out to you on LinkedIn as well, actually, because I really want to know how teamwork was able to grow and your key to success, because I want to be successful like teamwork.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that your background is an agency background, Kristy, because the history of teamwork actually came from an agency. The two founders, Dan and Peter, originally ran an agency. That was their business. That was their primary reason of working. And I think what happened as that agency business scaled, and they took on more clients, more complexity, their own ability to be successful was challenged, right? Because they had, as you explained, there was many competing parties. They were trying to manage their resources. They were trying to make sure that they were able to explain to clients what work was being done, the time that was being spent on
Right.
work, and essentially bill for their time and collect it up. After all, they were running a business. And what was interesting is that as that agency scaled up some probably 12 or 13 years ago, they found limitations in their ability to manage their work, manage the relationship with the clients in a commercial and in a relationship based model, to make sure that everybody was aligned with what work was being done, the speed it was being done at, the quality it was being done at, and so on. And so they went looking actually for an application that could satisfy and support their agency work, and they couldn't find something that was going to allow them to scale the business the way they needed to scale it, and exactly the way you've described your experience in terms of working with your clients. So what do you do when you're two developers? You decide you're going to build your own application.
Right.
And that was essentially the start of Teamwork. And I think the philosophy of Teamwork is still the same. That's where the history arrived. The Teamwork application can solve problems for a wide range of industries. Anybody that's essentially trying to collaborate on a project, manage tasks, manage time, communicate remotely, and connect people to tasks and work to be done. But our primary purpose and our reason is essentially in that history, that history of being an agency. And what we're really, really good at is doing and supporting agency priorities, supporting client work-based priorities, whether that's an agency, web development, marketing agencies, accountants, lawyers, anybody that's doing client-facing work and trying to manage projects alongside clients. That's what we're good at. And why we're great at it is because our history is based on that need.
Yeah, I love that. And so you were appointed COO in 2020. So can you tell me about, because from a chief financing officer role, you were transitioned to becoming COO. And I'm pretty sure that those are two different types of role, because if you're a CFO, you're like more focused on the finances, and whereas if you're COO, you're focused on operations. And I'm pretty sure you still look at the finances as well. So what were your struggles when you started as COO, and how were you able to overcome those struggles?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, Kristy. Yeah, look, I joined Teamwork 4 years ago, actually, almost to today. It was actually the end of January back in 2019. Originally joined the company as the chief financial officer, and our business had been bootstrapped actually to that point, right? And
Wow.
So the company had grown to roughly $25 million of annual revenue on an entirely bootstrap basis. We'd never taken capital,
Wow.
never had any external investment. So the two founders and the business had run itself. And we had an ambition, obviously, to try and grow the business more, and there was a need for a chief financial officer. I joined the company, delighted to do that. And probably after about 15 months, the founders asked me, would I take on a chief operating officer role? To your point, how did I then transition from one to the other? And part of the transition was built on the ambitions we were trying to pursue and deliver. And we needed to scale up our leadership capability across all of the domains, right? So I moved into a CEO role. We hired a new chief financial officer, and we have been building leadership capability right across the business over the last 3 years or so to really pursue the ambitions that we have. So, but moving out of a chief financing officer role into an operating role was definitely not without its challenges. And first of all, I had to relieve myself essentially of the finance officer's responsibilities, and accept that we had a new chief financial officer with the skills to be able to do that and to allow him to do that. And I would say that probably the biggest challenge I had in terms of transitioning into the CEO role was actually coming to grips with all the other different functions in the business. So marketing, sales, engineering, product management, customer success, HR, and kind of people attributes. So that was probably singularly the biggest challenge I had to overcome was to figure out how to do that in a way that I could continue to have an impact in both the short term and longer term. So it was definitely an interesting transition a couple of years ago.
Wow, I'm pretty sure, and it's a big role. You're overseeing marketing, sales, and product development as well, and even customer service. So how many people are reporting to you right now?
So pretty much the entire company report to me, with the exception of the two founders. So myself and the two founders are essentially the executive board members that we have, and we have also an external board, which is made up of some non-executive folks, plus our investors. We did take on some money in 2021. We raised $70 million to help us to grow. So pretty much everyone in the operations of the business reports to me through a really strong leadership team that we've developed over the last 2 years or so, 3 years or so. So 350 people roughly.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of people.
It sometimes feels like saying, "Oh my gosh," to me too, Kristy. So.
Wow. So tell me about the leadership program that you mentioned. So what is in it? Like, how do you make sure that all your leaders in the company, will grow and will be able to also handle different people accordingly, according to the core values that the teamwork has set in place?
Yeah, and look, I think you touched on a very interesting topic. We're a very values-based company. We have I would say a strong culture of being a value-based company. We're very clear about that. We articulate it very directly to all the people that join us in the business. And as the company grows and scales, the complexity of running the operation becomes more challenging. We've got more of a geographically diverse business. We have people in Denver, we have people in South America, we have people in Australia, people in the UK, in Germany, and so on. So I think to be able to run a business like that and scale and grow a business like that, we have to have some fairly strong fundamentals in the culture and the conditions and the way we want to work, right, that everybody understands. So we do invest a lot of time in particularly the two founders who really kind of own the mojo of this company. It's their baby, basically. They founded it, and they've nurtured it, and they've grown it with the help of good, strong, what I would describe professional managers that we've hired into the business. People with very good sales experience in a software as a service industry, the SaaS industry. People that understand the kind of geographic nature, variation in customers, different kind of things that people need, and different. I'm sure you're quite aware of this from dealing with your own clients.
Right.
not one cap doesn't fit all, and you do need to have areas. So we've invested very carefully, I would say, in terms of trying to hire really strong leaders that understand the culture of the business, and obviously understand the purpose of the business. Right. I think that's how you scale a company like this is by having really strong leaders sitting in those seats. So it's been a process, I think, of identifying, taking time, through the process of interview, talking to people, making sure they understand us, we understand them, and getting a good fit and a good match. I in some ways it's like dating, actually.
Exactly.
I think it's like getting, it's got to work for everybody, and it's not a one way conversation. So yeah, no, it's been an interesting period of change over the last couple of years. We've taken money, again, that changes the dynamics in the business.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
that's so true. So have you ever fired someone from within your team?
I have, and I think, and look, that's unfortunately that is, I would describe, look, that's an experience I've had through many experiences in my career. There are certain circumstances where people don't fit for whatever reasons, or we don't fit for people. That also happens.
Mm-hmm.
So that the answer to that is absolutely yes. I've had to do that. Never easy, but I think what you do generally in that situation is you reflect on what's best for everybody involved, and you make a decision with due respect and to both parties, and you move on, and that's the nature of the world, keeps turning.
Exactly. Firing somebody, it's not easy, but it's something that you need to do, especially when you know that it's not working. Like what you said, sometimes it's not that the person is not the right fit, for us, but maybe we're the ones who's not the right fit for the person. And I think when you think about the company as a whole, our decisions are based on the company as a whole. We do not base on our decision based on an individual in the company, right? It's always for the good of the whole company.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, Kristy. I think that generally there's two things that kind of dictate it for me. One is, is it holding the company back in terms of our obligations and responsibilities to the customer base we're trying to serve, and the business we're trying to develop? And then I think the other really key stakeholder of this is the people that in the business, as you said, internally within the business. Are we the best fit for for our colleagues and for our peers,
right?
and are we actually helping each other to be successful? And I think where those two things kind of are not being served, I think that's an indication of the need to part company. And I think the other thing that I've learned over the years of my career, and particularly as I've really come to grips with a CEO type role in a business like this, is that I think it's really important that you act quickly for your reasons, but also I think in the best interest of the individual that may be impacted by the need to part company.
Yeah, that's true. I love what you said about acting quickly. I always tell myself, whenever I have challenges or whenever I need to decide on something, very quickly or immediately, I always tell myself, Kristy, do not prolong your agony. Not just my agony, is also the person that I need to deal with. Like sometimes when you have to make tough decisions, you can't sleep at night. I mean, you can sleep, but it's gonna be hard for you to sleep at night. So don't prolong your agony and act quickly. So I'm curious, so in 2020, that's when we had the pandemic, and until now, some countries, even the US, are still trying to recover from it. And now the economy seems very unstable right now. So, and you were appointed as COO in 2020, during the pandemic. There were a lot of challenges, I'm sure, and now the economy is kind of not that stable as compared to the previous year. So How do you deal with it? Is that something that teamwork is currently uh not focusing, but currently sensitive to right now?
Yeah, look, I think 2020 was definitely, I think, one of those, well, we hope, lifetime events for all of us. We hope we don't ever experience something like that as quickly again. And I think there was such a significant amount of uncertainty attached to that, to the COVID-19 pandemic that occurred in 2019 and 2020, and such a lot of, I suppose, unknowns that were attached to that. I think, we certainly had to draw breath in how we were running our business, and pause and reflect on the consequences, and in some ways we had to pause and reflect on the unknown consequences, because there was so much uncertainty, and so many people had no idea how this is actually going to develop and evolve. So we made some changes in our business at the time to reflect that reality. We got very close to our customers, particularly those that needed help. Customers are really at the center of our business, and we're very proud, I would say, of the values we have around our customers. We approach customers that were looking for kind of economic relief, let's put it that way, given their businesses were challenged, and we were quite happy to afford customers some relief. We deferred payments for a period of time until they were able to understand what was going on. And we've done that, right? And that's something that we've kind of continued. We more recently, the whole drama in Ukraine, with the war in Ukraine. We have a lot of Ukrainian customers. We had some employees there. And we basically just suspended payments for some of those customers because they just had no way of paying us in the first instance. There was so much uncertainty and so on. So I think we have reacted, in primarily in terms of how we reflect on the impact that has on our customers, and that's the first thing we've done. I think from the perspective of how we've run our business more recently, particularly given kind of some of the downturn in the economy and the contractions in the economy, we are very careful about how we run our business. We have big ambitions. We have invested heavily in the last 12 months. Our investment in our business has been at a quicker rate, let's say, than our growth, because we are growing for the future, and we've committed to that plan. We've just taken some very careful decisions in terms of how we construct our business and how we want the future of our business to be run, where we want to prioritize how we predominantly build and support and create a product where our ambition is to be the one place to run client work. So we don't want you having to attach certain other applications that we can actually service from within our product. We do want to have strong integrations with services that are very important to client focused work. Take CRMs like HubSpot, or other finance systems like Xero, and so on, that are predominantly used by a lot of our clients. So I hope that helps. Maybe
I like that you during the difficult times that we were in, you guys thought about your customers first, and deferred their payments. And I remember when I was starting out my agency in 2019, I don't know if this still exists, but in 2019, if you only have 5 users or less than 5 users added to Teamwork, you don't have to pay for anything. And then I came to a point where I needed to add more, and I added I think 10 more people. And I think I spoke with one of the customer service representatives, and I asked them, hey, can I still not pay, but I need to add 10 more because I'm a startup, company, and I'm bootstrapping my company too, and they allowed me to do that. So I was like, wow, the customer service is really, really great, and I think that I appreciated that a lot, and that's what makes me very loyal to Teamwork.
Great to hear.
Because you put your customers first, and I like that. That's something I want I want to improve, in my business, because sometimes, I mean, it's not that we don't put our customers first, but when you're bootstrapping your business, you also think about your numbers, right? Are we still going to be profitable,
Yeah.
this year or not? So yeah.
Yeah, I think like everything, like, there's a balance required in everything, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think, as you said, there we are trying to run a business. You're trying to start an agency. There's different, obviously, complexities. We do need capital to fund that business. We do, obviously, we won't run a business by giving away software for free,
Right.
on the long term. But it is really important to us that we build deep relationships with our customers. One of our, we have a very, very kind of strong ambition about wanting to be one place to run client work, being the service provider that agencies like yourself come to by default. Because one, we know our customers; two, we appreciate our customers; and three, we actually provide, in that knowledge and appreciation, we actually provide our customers with the solutions that help them to run their businesses in a more end-to-end way, right? So we're not just here to try and give you, a task management tool or a
Mm-hmm.
project management relationship tool. We want you to be able to, you know, acquire customers, going through a process, either through retainers or proposals, right through to winning a customer or a client, right through to be able to manage that relationship, communicate with them, track time, and ultimately to build and collect some cash against the time and the investment that
Mm-hmm.
you've put.
Yeah.
So we're very aware of our customers for all sorts of reasons, and we work very closely with our customers to try and define, the priorities for them. So we are reflecting that in the product that we're actually
Mm.
continuing to develop. So
Yeah, I love that. And when you're scaling an agency, it's important that you have a platform that you can easily scale with, right? So like
yeah,
I mentioned, I started with just 5 users, you know, on Teamwork. Now I probably have like 100 users there already, like I wasn't paying Teamwork before, but now, I'm also helping Teamwork grow, by being a loyal customer to them. So as you were sharing what's important to Teamwork, I was also like kind of reflecting, yeah, I was able to scale my business, and that is with the help of Teamwork. I mean, and I'm not saying this because, I'm in front of you, but there's a reason why I invited you to come on to the show, because I'm really, curious to know about Teamwork, and I want to see the leaders behind Teamwork. So yeah, I mean, again, thank you for coming on.
well, look, thank you for being a customer. I genuinely believe this, and mean this. I think we learn so much from talking to customers, no matter what the medium is and what the base is, and it's a massive part of our culture and our identity is the relationship we have with customers like you, and we're delighted to have you as a long-term customer. We hope we continue
Oh
and
yeah.
can continue to work together and broaden even the relationship and help you to be even more successful.
Hmm. I think at this moment it's hard to like move on to a different platform, because we're just our services, like everyone in the team, we're just I think our daily lives are integrated into Teamwork. So, I think we'll
Brilliant.
be we'll be
Great to
using
hear.
Teamwork forever. It's gonna be a mess if we move out, and that's not even, something I thought about. So
Are you sick and tired of being overwhelmed and afraid you'll never scale your business? Meet Smart VAs. Unlike many virtual assistant agencies that only assign one dedicated virtual assistant, we provide flexibility for growing businesses by assigning a team of experienced virtual assistants that can do different tasks to support your continuous growth. Visit smartvas.online to book a free discovery call and start growing your business.
let's talk about delegation. So you have an executive assistant. Her name is Denise. Um, why do you think it's important that you have her by your side?
Yeah, she's a lifesaver and she's a absolutely fantastic person as well. Denise been working with us for just I would say nearly 15 months or so. And in some ways, she's a transformative aspect to my day-to-day work and life, because I think with 350 people in the team, quite a diverse portfolio of responsibility across different, functional domains and stuff like that. A lot of people want my time, need my time, look for advice, want time to talk about, explore ideas and think about, what we should and shouldn't be doing and how we should go about it and so on. And I think, so from a very basic kind of, just admin and organization of time, Denise is kind of my lifesaver, to be honest. She organizes my calendar. She clearly aligns other resources if we need to pull more people into meetings and events, and she takes a lot of that kind of burden away, which is fantastic, and allows me to focus on the things that are important in terms of running the business. But I think where executive assistants really stand out from the crowd, right, is they're not just calendar or scheduling administrators. They are people who challenge you in some of your thinking at times. Hey, why are you thinking that way? Maybe if we did it this way, this might be more effective. And I think having the courage and the confidence and the kind of knowledge of, one, I think the culture and the kind of identity of the business and how we should do things, I think is a really kind of what I would say differentiating aspect with a very good executive assistant. I've had a number of them over the years, and I think it is the true mark of what makes executive assistant stands out is that the admin stuff is just a given. It's the other stuff. It's like, hey, you need to meet this guy because of that guy. You need to do more on the outside. Are you talking to enough customers? Is there stuff you're not doing? What about doing something this way rather than that way? Because, I know from what I can hear around the business, there's an appetite to see things done this way or to hear things this way. So again, I think executive assistants can provide a very good grounding on what's actually happening. Sometimes when we're so busy as executive leaders, we forget about the things that maybe matter to people. And I think the really good executive assistants always bring us back to some things that may often get left behind. So
I love that. So, an executive assistant, specifically Denise, she's just not your assistant, she's also your support system,
yeah, I think
and
that's a great way of describing it, actually, is the support system. I think that's a really, really good way of describing it, Kristy.
So how do you tell Denise, your executive assistant, what she needs to do? How do you delegate to her?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we meet probably 3 times a week. We literally sit down and talk through diary for the upcoming days, what the priorities are, what may be coming into her that I haven't seen yet, where there's demand or need. We meet. That's always a great thing. You should always sit and meet face to face and have some conversations.
Is it physical?
It is. It could be by phone. Depends on whether we're in the office or not out in the office. So she's working from home, or I'm working from home, or I'm away. If I'm in Belfast, or if I'm not in Cork, for example, we'll always try and connect through a medium of face to face, right? So that may be directly in the office or not in the office. And the other thing we use is we use our own application, actually. So we set tasks. We have a chat tool that we use at Teamwork as well. So we collect kind of items within the application, and then we use that essentially as a kind of an agenda topic or an agenda content for those face-to-face meetings. Or if something needs to get solved more quickly, we'll assign a task or we'll assign a message in our own application to try and move some things along. So that's the way that we work. It's quite fluid. I think as you build a relationship with an executive assistant that more understands your needs and the business needs, the tempo of that kind of exchange and the success of that exchange can become quicker because they actually anticipate stuff. So in Denise's case, she's really good at anticipating problems or things that are necessary or areas of focus. So she actually gets ahead of some of the stuff before it actually lands on her desk. And I think that's what again, back to the support system analogy, I think that's where a really strong EA has a major impact. They're actually, in some ways, they're capable of looking around corners in ways that you may not have got to them first, or may not be there yet. So.
Mm-hmm. So when Denise first started, was she assigned to you? At the moment she started at Teamwork?
It's interesting. Myself and Peter, Peter Cottinger, who's one of the co-founders of Teamwork, were sharing an executive assistant, and luckily for her, she needed to have a baby, her first baby, so she went on maternity leave, and we met Denise, who came in to replace her during her maternity leave, and Denise just set a different. She just came in and she impressed us, and she's continued to work with us ever since. And the other EA that came back into the business as we've scaled and grown, she has now taken on working alongside all of the other leaders in the business, and Denise works alongside myself and Peter and Dan, who's the other co-founder in the business. She's our primary executive assistant. We share resources. We do a lot together anyway, so it's actually an effective use of Denise's time, and then she obviously assigns components for a day to support them individually in their needs as well as me. So
that's awesome. And did you have to train Denise, to make sure that she's set up for success, or did you set expectations?
Yeah, so no, absolutely. I think again, it's a bit like a relationship. So like you're forming a relationship. So there was a level of, maybe I suppose Denise came as well, first of all, she was an established and experienced EA, so she had really good skills coming in. We obviously spent time with her, talked about our way of doing things previously, and she also had ideas which we took on board, and we balanced those. But so there was definitely a level of storming and norming, setting expectations clearly, and I think that's I think all the good EAs expect expectations to be set clearly, so there's no ambiguity, there's no gray areas, there's just good prompt and speedy execution. So we had some a quick transition, let's put it that way, and we were up and running fairly quickly. So
wow. And so Denise is your executive assistant, but not necessarily your virtual assistant, because you meet face to face, most of the time when you're in the office. So do you think it'll be hard if your executive assistant is working online, 100% remotely? Is there a need to be, do you think it's important that you meet face to face, in a specific location, once in a while, or do you think it's feasible if you just work with a virtual assistant 100% of the time?
Yeah, no, I do think it's very possible and very practical. And I've done this before, actually, Kristy, in previous roles where my assistant was virtual, so based in a different country, and I think that's completely appropriate. I think it can work. There's no question about that, and I've seen it work. I do think that it should be virtual in the sense that there should be at least face-to-face contact through video, because I think what's really important is the relationship and how the relationship develops and builds. And I think if it's exclusively virtual, there's obviously some complexities attached to that. So it does take time to build a relationship that's maybe a little bit more difficult to build if you're meeting somebody face to face. You just get to meet, you get to meet each other. But what I mean by face to face is physically present, right? So I think it's entirely it entirely works. As I've said before, I've had virtual assistants in the past exclusively, and it works just as well, I would say.
Yeah, that's good to know. And what can you say to business leaders who are not delegating, or who don't know how to delegate, or who do not have an executive assistant?
Yeah, and look, I anybody that's not delegating is essentially, I would say, not helping themselves to be successful. I think they're undermining their own success is how I would describe it. I think those that don't delegate, whether that's to colleagues or peers, whether it's to an executive assistant, are really undermining their own ability to be successful. And what I mean by that is, I think you can tend to be distracted by so many things. Not all of them are important, and I think trying to understand where you are able to give your priority and your focus and the time that matters to the things that matter is really the result of your ability to delegate properly. And I think there's another side to it. I think the other side to it is, if you're not delegating, you're actually undermining the development of the people in your business that you're not delegating to, right? Because, you know, if you're ambitious and you want to succeed, you've probably surrounded yourself with really capable people, whether that's executive assistants, whether it's a CFO, or whether it's a manager of success or sales. And if you're not willing to give them fully the responsibility that they want in their role and deserve in their role, you're actually undermining their development as well as your own. So I think my advice to anybody is, particularly in leadership roles, is to look very carefully at what you are and are not delegating, and are you getting the most out of yourself and the people that you're actually partnering with in that delegation.
Wow, I love that, because delegation, it's not just assigning a task to somebody, it's empowering that individual, right? Because you're trusting that individual to take on a task that you're not supposed to be doing. It's something that you can do, but you're not supposed to be doing it, because there are things that matter the most in your business or in the organization.
Yeah, it's a complete 100%, and that's my point. And I think it's very easy to be what I would describe as a busy fool, right? So we can be very busy at a lot of stuff, but are we busy at the stuff that matters? And I think that's where standout leaders stand out from each other. And I think we're leaders that have the capability to identify and focus on the things that really matter, will have the biggest impact on the business that they're tasked with leading or responsible for leading. So delegation is a massively, massively critical and important part of that.
So what is that main thing that matter to your position right now? I think the goals that were set, like KPI.
What really matters, is it?
Yeah, in your current position.
Yeah. So I think I have a term that I use, right, and I talk about a number of different things, but I think ultimately the outcomes that we're producing is what's important. So whatever that business outcome is that you're responsible for, you're accountable for, you're measurable on, right? So if you're a sales leader, the outcome is, am I booking business and doing sales? If you're a product manager, am I producing product that sales can sell? And I think that the KPIs and the metrics, and where I kind of focus in terms of trying to manage that delegation, is bringing the conversation back to the outcomes. There can be a lot of conversation about what I would describe as outputs. So I'm doing a lot of stuff, right, but I'm not producing any outcomes. So I always try and focus my conversation with my peers and leaders about, well, are we influencing the outcomes we are looking to drive as a business? Whether that's growth, whether it's a cost outcome, whether it's a acquisition or a retention or an expansion outcome in the business that we work in. So are we growing accounts? Are we hanging up? Are we retaining accounts? Or are we, and what are the numbers that are attached to those? We do an annual business planning process where we define what we believe are the outcomes that will satisfy the plan for our year, or the ultimate outcome we want to get to. Let's say we want to grow 40% next year, 40% as a target. What does that tie out to? Then what are the key outcomes within those? What are the key component outcomes that will actually allow us to sit in 12 months' time and reflect on our 40% year-on-year growth achievement? So so that's the way I try and I suppose control my delegation and manage my delegation as well.
Yeah, because if you think about your goals, and the things that you need to achieve in order for the business to grow, that should be enough motivation for you to delegate, because if you don't delegate, you won't be able to do those things, because those things that you mentioned, those are like they're not easy to do, those are heavy responsibilities. And so by allowing yourself to take off some tasks that you're not supposed to be doing, you are focusing most of your time on the things that will help achieve your goals.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And I think we have a saying here at Teamwork where we contract with each other. So we get very clear about what we're delegating and what the expectations and what the responsibility attached to that delegation is, and what the accountability for taking on that responsibility and that delegated responsibility is. So we have a and that's embedded in our culture. It's a very clear kind of way that we make sure that we're contracting with each other, that it is the right thing to delegate for, to have the biggest impact and have the biggest outcome and produce the biggest outcome that we're actually trying to produce on. So, there is delegation isn't always about just, pushing a lot of stuff at people. It's actually making sure that we're pushing the right stuff, and we're, have a mutual kind of respect for the outcome we're trying to produce by actually sharing or delegating responsibility for certain things. There's limited hours in the day, there's limited resources in the business, whether that's people, whether it's cash. So we need to, I suppose, think about all the things we're doing and make sure that we're actually making the most of all the available resources that we have to produce the outcomes that really, really matter.
Yeah, I love that. It's really teamwork, right?
It is
collaboration.
It is absolutely teamwork. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, and
Yeah.
look, we use our own tools to help us to do that. It helps us to run our business, and it helps us to stay close to the capability of the application, because it helps us to run our own business as well. So absolutely right, teamwork.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap up with this final question, and I'm really interested to know what your answer would be. If you could turn back the time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
That's a really, really interesting question. I think we learn a lot with the benefit of experience. I think, and I think we only learn it through experience, right? Good experiences and bad experiences. And I think if I could tell my 18-year-old self anything, is that you don't know all the answers, and others have equal are different, are diverse points of view that you should listen to and hear. All ideas are good ideas. They should be explored and listened to with curiosity. None of us know all the answers. And I know that much more now than I did when I was 18. And I would absolutely say that to my 18-year-old self. Listen with curiosity and intent to the people you come in touch with. Build relationships. Never burn bridges, because the world is a small place. And be open to others' opinions, and work really well with people. I learned that myself. I think the value of relationships early on, it bore out very good experience to me. But there were times when I was in my 18, 19, in my 20s, my first job, where I thought I knew everything, and the old guy that was there 30 years, 25 years experience, he didn't know as much as me, and I was sadly flawed. I learned a lot through some of those experiences. So listen carefully, respect experience, and try and learn from it.
Yeah, that's a nice message, because I mean, when I was still 18 years old, I was like, I feel like I was a fool, I think I know everything, I think I can already start my own life, I can get married already. I'm 18, like I'm legally, you have the freedom to do whatever you want to, but not really, and so I that's a good message, to your 18-year-old self.
I think what's it's the exuberance of youth is fantastic, and you don't want to undermine that or bring it back. And I think just this kind of, in some ways, the naivety of youth is fantastic. And I suppose what I'm trying to, my recommendation would be, don't lose that naivety and exuberance, but don't think you know everything. Listen carefully, have an open mind. So it's a balance. There's different stages we go through in life, and we learn through every one of them.
Yeah, there are different cycles in life. I was actually just reading something about different seasons in life, and I feel like we go through different seasons in life, and the most important thing is that we listen to other people and that we have the right community to support us. Yeah. Well,
Yeah, very.
thank you so much, John. Any last few words of wisdom that you want to add before
No,
we leave?
no, no. It's been a pleasure chatting, Kristy. I think it's been a really, really interesting conversation. I loved it. Absolutely. I can't say this enough. We're delighted you're a customer of ours. We're thrilled to have you. I continue to be a customer of ours. And I think you're going to be excited by what we're trying to do with our product, which is going to help you grow your business and scale your business even further than when you were with us back in the early days as a startup. We're delighted that we're helping you succeed. And look, we look forward to continuing the relationship, and the chat overall has been really interesting. It's been great to chat and catch up some today.
Yeah,
Have a good day.
yeah. Thank you so much. To my listeners, if you want to check out Teamwork, go to teamwork.com. If I'm not mistaken, teamwork.com,
That's
right?
correct, yeah.
That
It's
must be a very
teamwork.com.
that must be a very expensive domain name to buy, because it's,
So
teamwork.com. It's very easy to remember.
there's a very interesting side story to that if you have a couple of minutes for me to hang
Sure,
on,
yes,
right?
yes.
So this actually is part of, I think, of the DNA of the company, right? So when the two founders set up the business, they wanted to get a hold of the domain called teamwork.com. So this is back 10, 12, 13 years ago. And they had such belief in the name and the actual they bid on the domain, right, at teamwork.com at the time. And the guy, I think, that held it at the time was looking for $15 million. And this was a
Wow.
startup company that had less than $1 million in the bank at the time. We were. And so there was a lot of negotiation over a number of months. They contacted every now and again. Do you want to buy? Do you want to sell? It was over and back. So anyway, it's a story of legend now, which we all know. But Peter was in a bar one night, having a couple of drinks. Sent him an email and said, "My final offer is $500,000." And $500,000 was all the cash we had in the bank at the time.
Oh,
And so he literally bet the company on the domain at that time. Now he knew he had some more cash coming because of customer base, but we bet on the domain, and the guy sold us the domain. So we used all available cash that we had at that point and bought the domain. So that's the background to teamwork.com. That is teamwork.
oh my gosh, but it's worth it.
Absolutely.
It's worth the risk, right?
Yeah. We believe strongly enough in it at the time when we didn't have capital. We believe even more in it now that we do have resources to build more, do more, and help more customers like you. So yeah, teamwork.com.
Yeah, and if you are, I mean, not you, John, but the listeners, if you are planning on trying out Teamwork, I am gonna include my referral code in the show notes so you can have some sort of, discount, and, it's a win-win situation for all of us.
Brilliant. Come and try us. I'm sure you won't be disappointed, is what I would say. Kristy, thanks for being such an advocate for teamwork.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, John.
Great stuff, Kristy. Have a good day. Take care.
You
Have
too.
a good one. Bye.